So for today's video, guys, I'm gonna hit you with some drama. Yeah, that's right. In the least suspecting place, I found drama. So the other night while I was perusing the Steam Workshop for Black Ops 3, just looking for some new custom content, maybe something exciting, I was pretty blown away because I discovered Tranzit Remastered, not only one but two. I found Transit and also like this Dark Ether version of Transit. So it looked kind of legit aside from the Comic Sans on the cover picture. I was wondering if maybe this is some sort of weird virus somehow on the Steam Workshop that's masquerading as this hyped up map. So I opened the page and this is what I was greeted with. I see the map was uploaded by a guy named Destroyer Dan, and then right away the first line of the description I read, it said, "Bringing justice to those wronged by Patreon scams." And I knew right away that I was getting into something very interesting here. So the uploader Destroyer Dan continues by saying, quote, "Green Run Productions, aka Greatest Scam Productions, have not updated this map since April 1st, and users who have subscribed to their Patreon since then have been completely ghosted." So this is basically the whole crux of the video. This guy says, there's a scam going on, so I pirated it, I uploaded it, I'm justified in what I'm doing. And so if all this is true, then I think he probably is justified in what he's doing, and that's kind of what I wanted to investigate today. So continuing with what Destroyer Dan typed up here, I guess to summarize, in order to play the map, you have to have like a whitelisted username. So a lot of YouTubers had early access, or if you were on the Patreon tier, you should have had early access. I guess a lot of people didn't. Something pretty funny is he recommends that you use the username Dalek as your whitelisted username, and so why did that just happen? I'm not gonna take the piss too much here. I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I just think it's funny that in order to pirate the map, you load in as Dalek. So the trail sort of ran cold here. There was only so much information that Destroyer Dan could convey in the map description. So in the pursuit of information, I went looking elsewhere on the internet, places like Reddit and Twitter. I didn't find anything on Reddit really, but I did find a lot on Twitter. And this whole thing goes way deeper than I was originally expecting. So the first thing I found was the page of Green Run Productions, the team behind this whole map, and indeed, their last tweet was April 13th, and then they went just radio silent. So I saw their Patreon and I was like, well, let's see what's going on their Patreon. They had it linked on the front of their Twitter page, so clicked on that, and I was greeted with this page. A lot of tears going up to goddamn $651. Now you might say, wow, that's a lot of money. And you might also say, wow, that's a really weird value of money. And the reason why it's like that is because whoever set up this page is receiving the money in British pounds. So it's being converted. And this is important because later on, there is a British dude that does get involved. It's also important to note that they currently have 236 paid subscribers as of me making this video. So I continue to scroll down, and what do you know? In line with Destroyer Dan's allegations, and the same as the Twitter account, their last post was April 13th, 2024. So it's been 2 months now, and these guys have they're gone. Houston to Green Run Productions, nobody knows where the fuck they are. They disappeared. People are still paying. They have 236 paid members. So surely those members are still getting the map, right? Maybe these guys just haven't given a public update, but surely they're still giving the paying patrons the map that they paid for, right? So I continued investigating their Patreon site, and I found this post from March 15th, about a month before they went silent. And so this is a big post where they're all like, hey everyone who signed up for early access in our Patreon tiers, come over here and send us a DM and we'll get to your order in a jiffy, sir. We're gonna get through them as fast as we can. So I thought, okay, this seems like the kind of thing I'm looking for, and so I checked the comments underneath the post. To say the least, they were very enlightening. So what I gathered from scrolling through here is that Operation DM seemed to be successful for about a month or so, maybe a month and a half. Suddenly, after about a month and a half had passed since this post had been put up, all of the comments shifted to being about people who are saying that they don't know how to DM, because this is just speculation on my part, just knowing how these things generally tend to work. But I wouldn't be surprised if these guys somehow made it really convoluted and like some harebrained scheme to DM them so that people will have a hard time DMing them because they don't give a shit and they don't want to give people shit in the DMs because they're probably too lazy to respond to the DMs. And then also there's a bunch of people just saying, I DM'd you, where's the map? I paid money, I didn't get the map. So then I went to this Transit Remastered trailer on YouTube, and I've looked through the comments there, and there was somebody saying, well, looking forward to this map coming out on the workshop without a donation when it's finished. And then one of the patrons replies and says, even if you do donate, they don't give a download. I've waited 2 months. So this guy has been subscribed for 2 months and he didn't get anything. Keep in mind that in order to actually get access to the map, you have to pay at least $13.50 USD. This is kind of a high amount of money to be paying every month for nothing. And remember, some people could be paying much more, up to $651 fucking dollars every month. That is not a one-time payment, that is a monthly payment on their page. There also doesn't appear to be a limit as to how many users can pay $651 a month. Usually when a Patreon has one of these crazy exorbitant daddy tiers where people are paying like almost $1,000 a month, it's usually like locked to a certain amount of users so that like only like 1 or 2 or 3 people can do it per month. This one seems unlimited, so any amount of users can come to this Patreon page and fork over $651. And knowing how the internet works, how people like to just kind of throw around money, I'm sure somebody is paying for the $651 tier. I bet. We also have to consider that there are tiers below the early access tier that are $3 and $5.50 a month each. These patrons are also being scammed. Keep in mind that Green Run Productions has been fucking AWOL for 2 months. We're coming up on 3 months here, and these guys are supposed to have voting privileges, early screenshots and news and all this stuff, and they're obviously not getting it. These guys are nowhere to be found. And even if we pretend that every patron is on the lowest tier at $3 a month, which we know they're not, but let's just pretend they are, these guys are making at least $708 a month for nothing. And we know that it's much more than that. We see all the comments of people, we see all the hype where everyone's like, I want to play it early. So there's a lot of people paying at least $13.50 a month. And then keeping in mind that this is the internet, there are likely quite a few high rollers, with each of them separately dropping hundreds of dollars per month. All in all, it's very easy to reach the point where, doing the math, these guys are making thousands of dollars a month for nothing, for 2.5 months of nothing, and people are not getting what they paid for. So with all this evidence, I would say, yeah, the allegations were true. There's a high-level scam going on, thousands of dollars a month, and Destroyer Dan's definitely justified in doing what he's doing. But I wanted to dig a little deeper and see if I could find who's behind all this. Who's this going to? Who's the Scooby-Doo villain behind Green Run Productions? So on the actual Steam page of the transit maps that were uploaded by Destroyer Dan, he brings up a guy named Danny, and he seems really confident that Danny is behind Green Run Productions and that Danny's behind all this. And the more I looked, I saw more people bringing up Danny, with one commenter even going as far as to say, Danny from Waterpark is the biggest BO3 Zombies custom map scammer ever. Now this was a pretty juicy piece of intel right here. As soon as they mentioned Waterpark Zombies, it instantly clicked and I knew exactly who they were talking about. Now Waterpark Zombies was an extremely hyped up custom map that dropped last year in October. It won a bunch of custom map awards and everyone was reviewing it positively and saying, yeah, this is great. This is one of the best custom maps to drop this year. It was amazing. I never played the map personally, but I believe it. You know, it looked impressive from what I saw, and it seemed like, yes, it was definitely a well-made map that deserved the hype that it got. But I remember during the development of this map, it took a very long time for the map to get finished, and I remember at a certain point people even thought it wasn't going to be finished because the guy behind it, Danny, he was delaying it for this reason, that reason, and the other, and people were, again, paying money for it because a lot of YouTubers were gassing it up and sending people to his Patreon, and so a lot of people at a certain point just thought the map wasn't going to get finished, and a lot of people were losing their patience with the guy. Things got to the point where people started alleging that he was lying about the delays and that it was actually just a scam to like keep delaying and stretch out the project as long as he possibly could so that he could keep getting monthly payments from his Patreon every month for as long as he possibly could. So a lot of people were moving forward with the thought that Danny was a bit sus as far as his credibility goes, and a lot of people were kind of keeping an eye on the guy. And so with all this in mind, I decided, all right, let me see if I could find more on Twitter, and I was not disappointed. So I found a post from pretty early on in this whole thing, probably hours after the transit maps had been posted on Steam. And the person was basically saying that, wow, this is a pretty bad thing, you know? Creators are allowing early access paid for these maps, and these creators deserve to be supported, so if they're gonna give a paid early access, that should be respected. The community should not pirate their maps and post them on Steam. And what do you know it, in the replies to this very post, Danny makes himself known. And I must say, he did not make a very good first impression on me. He says, I've been sent this. I find it amusing how wrong they all are on their accusations. I see their Discord messages all thinking I'm like massively affected because this is my project. It's not. I did help on the Buzz Depot though. This doesn't affect me in any way, as I don't even take any money from the project. Someone else does. I wonder who that is. They think I'm like lead dev or something. I've helped out with members and published it in my name as some members are too quote-unquote scared to be brought to light. That's weird. I couldn't give a shit. I read their comments and their attempts to cause me troubling times. I laugh and stand unfazed as it's genuinely got nothing to do with me and hasn't since Bus Depot. However, I did make the trailers. Keep trying to get at me. I have lost nothing. Keep crying, Mod Tools community. I don't see this hate for Verk, Zella, or anyone else selling their work, but sure. Thanks for thinking I could map and script all this, though. I wish I was this talented. Use your brain. And then he drops this crown emoji, which I don't know. I usually see that used in like those alpha male circles. I already don't like this guy. He seems like a fucking steaming douche. But anyways, so I bet that our Bond villain wannabe here probably thought that he put all this to bed and he was gonna get away with it and ride off into the sunset. But you'll never guess who actually made an appearance. The guy who fucking made the T7 patch for Black Ops 3. Shiver Soft Dev, Sirius, Anthony, whatever you call him, he has a lot of names. This really isn't the kind of guy you want to get into it with. He has a lot of goodwill with the community and he's usually on the right side of things, so I already knew this was getting real juicy here. So the savior of Black Ops 3 here shows up like Batman when we need him most, and he shuts all of this shit down. So he quote tweets Danny here and he says, "Hey guys, here is undeniable proof that this guy is lying. When a fast file is built by the map creator, their PC ID is recorded as part of the file header. As you can see, both Waterpark and Transit, being the Transit maps that were uploaded onto the Steam Workshop, have the same identifier recorded. There's plenty of other proof we have, but this is concrete." So I think this kind of speaks for itself. It's definitely undeniable, concrete proof that we have here, linking Danny to Green Run Productions, and in a very significant way too. And hats off to Shiversoft Dev for this, because if there wasn't anybody with the know-how that knew that they could get him on this, he may have been able to continue to just lie and sort of worm his way out of this situation. Also, in the reply to this quote tweet, we have another former patron who says, "I subbed to that guy's Patreon once for a benefit and just never got it." So yet again, we're seeing more people just not getting shit that they paid for from Danny and from shit that is linked to Danny. So this whole situation just kind of starts to reek of bullshit, and Danny is no longer able to ignore it anymore. So he responds to Shiversoft Dev saying, "Thanks." He's very not thankful right now, I promise. But as said in my comment, I publish and compile the map as people are worried about their names coming to light. Gonna hit you with some speculation here, but until further notice, I'm convinced these other people just don't exist. Use your brain and think who else is probably involved. You're a smart guy. Either way, because of this type of behavior, as I do not give a shit if people found out if I was part of it or not, I even changed my name on Steam to Green Run Productions at one point, to which everyone knows too. I'm just gonna break it to you, Danny. I don't think anyone fucking knew that. I think maybe some people somewhere knew that. Maybe, you know, your buddies knew that. I didn't know this. Nobody else investigating this would know about this. I have no idea why he said it, but I'm glad he did. Thank you. More concrete proof linking him to Green Run Productions if it wasn't already abundantly clear. So then he goes on to say, "This is boring. I see what you're trying to achieve, and you are obsessive hate towards me since Waterpark, but it really doesn't affect me." I also didn't find any evidence of any obsessive hatred from Shiversoft Dev towards Danny here. I don't know what this is. I think he's just trying to make him look bad. Thanks for spending your precious time on trying to get at me though, Anthony. But you're a switched on person. You can do much better than wasting time on me. God, he's like thinks he's fucking Vaz Montenegro or something. This just reads like such a smug villain monologue at the beginning of a Far Cry game, like right at the beginning where they get you and like you realize how crazy they are and all these like plans they have. I'll end this here on my behalf. I've needed to say what I've said. So you can tell that Danny's trying really hard to like mask his flustered energy and fear during this tweet. Tries to say it's boring or something, and then he just makes a lot of like fuck ups with like grammar. At the end there, he says, "I've needed to say what I've said," which is a very common phrase that he's going for. It's just he's got it the wrong way around. I've never seen somebody type it up that way unless if I guess their thumbs were shaking from like fucking adrenaline from being exposed publicly for lying. So Danny's a big fat liar, except he's a really bad one, and I bet at this point he was really praying that it would just come to an end because this was becoming quite excruciating for him. Unfortunately for Danny, Shiversoft Dev was not going to just let him slither away without some extra beatings. So he says, "Hey Danny, less backtracking, more mapping. Your subs are waiting." And then he drops this, which is a series of Mediafire links where you can go and download the actual scripts from some of the maps that Danny is known to have created, along with the scripts from the Transit remakes that are on the Steam Workshop from quote-unquote Green Run Productions. And what do you know it, when you cross-reference the scripts, there's clear evidence that the person behind them all is the same person. So I even went and looked at these myself, and while I was looking at the Dark Ether transit code, there were literally zones in the map that were literally named Danny. And then of course, yes, there were many of these functions that had like these copy pasta names like G74897JX. First of all, these are very obscure names for functions. Maybe this is just how advanced mappers do it, but me as a noob, I certainly was not naming my functions these like weird copy pasta names that I couldn't keep track of. I'm assuming Danny maybe did this in an effort to prevent people from reverse engineering his script as easily. I have no idea. But anyways, I took some of these really obscure function names and I copied them and used Control F and searched them in both scripts, and what do you know, they're in both scripts. And not only do they have the same name, these functions perform the exact same task. I found multiple examples of this. So with all the evidence we have now linking Danny to Green Run Productions, Shiversoft Dev decides to call it there. However, he leaves us off by saying that there's more shit and that he plans to compile it all in a list in about a week or so. So things are not looking up for Danny right now. With all this new info brought to light, I wanted to do sort of like a retrospective over the whole Waterpark saga. Since people were already alleging that he was scamming people during the creation of that map, I wanted to review his behavior and see if we could maybe find a pattern inside of all of this. So I went over to Danny's Patreon that he used during the Waterpark era to try and see when this whole saga started. He does have 16 paid members still. This Patreon isn't as poppin' anymore because the whole Waterpark situation is over and done with, thank God. So these are the tiers. These tiers are not nearly as unhinged as the ones from the Green Run page. You'll notice that these tiers have the same level of progression for the most part as the Green Run Productions page, and you'll also notice that it has the same weird dollar values because, again, just like the Green Run page, it's being converted from US dollars into British pounds. So scrolling down here, you can see his most recent post was on March 2nd of 2024, so he's been inactive for about 4 months now. Keep in mind, again, there are 16 people paying for his Patreon right now, but looking through it, it doesn't look like he has any pending promises to fulfill right now, so I don't think it's that bad, but just keep in mind that he is pocketing some amount of money per month off this page, and he hasn't been active for 4 months. So scrolling all the way down as far as I could on Danny's Patreon page, I finally got to the post where he announced early access for Waterpark on March 20th of 2021. Now, the map came out on October 30th of 2023, so it's a pretty interesting move to put a map into early access when the finish line is still apparently 2.5 fucking years away. If the map is in early access mode, then that means that it's playable enough for patrons to play it, which means you're probably closer than 2.5 years to being done with the map. So the reason this took so long is because Danny kept delaying the map for various reasons, and he wasn't working on it for various reasons that he would never really elaborate on. He would just kind of come up with, oh, this is happening in my life, or oh, I went through a breakup, or oh, this, you know, just the same thing over and over again, and it just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and the whole time people were paying this dude thousands of dollars a month because the YouTubers went fucking crazy over this map. They all saw it and they were like, this is gonna be amazing, so they sent all their audiences to go to Danny's Patreon and support Danny and help get this map made for the community, because it's really going to be a great thing, guys. Now, I don't think that these YouTubers are responsible or complicit in this whole thing in any way. That's not what I'm saying at all. It seems like he definitely lied to them and sort of conned them into thinking that he's this sweet, like, troubled guy that really needs support. I will say I am a bit disappointed that it's just kind of been crickets from these big YouTubers on this. I understand and respect that this community tends to be very drama and conflict averse from what I've seen, but this is a much more serious situation than your usual drama of two people don't like each other. Like, this dude is currently destroying the trust between map makers and the people who play their maps and support their maps. And maybe they're in denial about Danny and they don't want to believe it, but I'm a bit bummed that some nobody like me is the person that has to come along and make a video about this. I'd like to see somebody with a bigger voice actually talk about this, bring light to this, raise awareness, and denounce this kind of behavior, because this is really really, really bad for the custom zombies community. So I guess the original end date planned for Waterpark here was on April of 2022. Now in hindsight, that was obviously a long way off from the actual release date, which was October 30th of 2023, like a year and a half off. And all throughout this time, there were various delays for various reasons. You know, this whole song and dance routine about how he's lacking the willpower to open the tools, and people are being mean to me on the internet. Like, look, if you need to take a break from making the map, if stuff's going on, that's totally fine. Just communicate with your patrons who are paying you. These people are basically your boss. In real life, you wouldn't just not show up to work for months and then just come back and be like, yeah, it's all good. But that's what this guy does. So on June 13th of 2021, just barely 3 months after the map went into early access, he's already falling off the wagon and not working on the map and not updating his patrons. So then he releases this update video on his Twitter, which I'll just let it play.
So, quick update for everyone about my Waterpark map. I am working on it. I'm just doing a lot of things here and there. Life stuff and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not very connected with the Black Ops 3 community. So, I don't know. I'm working on it, but it's a slow process. But obviously, this is just a video update to just let people know that obviously I'm still working on it. And yeah, so cheers and peace out.
So peace out, guys. Thanks for all the monthly cash. I could only be fucked to make you a 30-second long Twitter video, but it's all right, guys. It's all good. I'm working on it. I've been away, but I'm working on it. Thanks for the money. Peace. So during this whole time, he kept doing this thing where every now and then he would drop one of these like hype posts where he'd be like, what comes next, ... And it's like, pump the fucking brakes, guy. This is before he had even delayed the map the first time. This is before it got pushed back past April of 2022. Again, it came out in October of 2023 on like the fucking last day or the second to last day of October of 2023. We're not even close to this map being done, and he's already talking about other shit, trying to raise the hype and trying to lure in new subscribers to pay him more of that sweet cash monthly when he hasn't even finished delivering on the promises that he already made, and he's not even close. It's crazy. So anyways, this pattern of behavior sort of just continues until release, so I'm just gonna spare you this fucking drivel, and I'm just gonna jump us right on ahead to the release of Waterpark on October 30th of 2023. So you might think now we're done with the Waterpark saga and it's all over and we can move on, but not quite. See, when you play Black Ops 3 Zombies and you load a custom map, you can also load a mod along with the custom map if the map supports that. Waterpark did not support that. A lot of people wanted that added in, so Danny decided, okay, I'll add that. So about a week after the map's release, he rolls out an update and he tweets out on Twitter, mod support is now available, with the thumbs up emoji. You'll notice that the replies are censored. This is a very common thing with Danny. This guy just can't handle any criticism. The comments on all his maps in the Steam Workshop are turned off as well. So luckily, being one of the few people who was permitted by Danny to speak, Ice Grenade comes in and says, still not working with mods. And this is on November 10th, 3 days after the update from Danny, which was on November 7th. At least, I don't know if that was this update or if he tried again on November 7th and then he was like, nah, and then he gave up. I don't know. The map still doesn't have mod support and it has not been updated since November 7th. And I tested this today. So I used a mod. It was a mod that replaces the zombie sounds with the ones they had unlocked on World at War. So you know how they're kind of like, whoop, 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 you know. It's a simple mod, one of the most simple ones I had installed, and it still crashed my game. It gave me a fatal error. So mods to this day still do not work on Waterpark Zombies. And again, people were paying for this map for years, some of them with the idea that it would have mod support. It doesn't have mod support, and the map just kind of doesn't work all the way, depending on how you look at it. I don't know if this is just impossible, or if he's being lazy, or as Destroyer Dan even puts it, maybe it's a spite-driven ego type of thing. You know, he doesn't want people ruining his perfectly curated experience. It doesn't really change the the fact that Danny basically lied to everyone who was paying him for years on Twitter when he said that he fixed it, and then he didn't, and he just kind of ignored all the feedback. Bro preemptively blocked and censored all the replies, and that's kind of just where this whole thing leaves off. The delays were very excessive and frivolous in my opinion, and he obviously made a lot more money by delaying it than he would have if he hadn't delayed it. Now, I can't say anything 100% certain about whether or not he was a scammer. I don't know his intent. From the outside, it seemed like he was putting out the image that he was going through a lot of stuff. It certainly does look a little shady, especially now that we have ties between Danny and Green Run Productions. Maybe Danny here started off as a little money-grubbing Meowth, and now he's evolved to his final form. He's like a Persian now named Green Run Productions, and after all he's learned, now he's like, I'm gonna still get my bag, but this time I'm not even gonna finish the map. He's tied to both these things. A lot of delays, a lot of the same behavior repeating itself over again. Looks like history repeating itself over again. So it definitely is interesting to review this stuff in hindsight with the information that we have now about Danny. So anyways, folks, don't put away that popcorn just yet because we're not done. There's a few more lowlights to go through on this cringe reel. So starting off here, we got Waterpark Zombies After Hours Nighttime. So this one was pretty cool. This was when Danny changed the lighting and the skybox on Waterpark and locked it to early access on his Patreon for about 5 months. That one was pretty cool, but moving on, we have Halloween Island, which was a map, I guess. It isn't anymore. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what happened to it. I saw it on a countdown, like best maps video from Conjura, and I thought, oh, that looked cool. So I saved it on Steam Workshop, and then one day I went to subscribe to it and download it, and then it just wasn't there anymore. I investigated Danny's Patreon, and there are mentions of this map. There are no mentions of its takedown, so I have no idea. At least from my knowledge, people weren't paying for this map in particular. It was like kind of like a surprise little thing that he made. It's just such peak weirdo behavior to waste hours working on a map and then to just yank it down off the Steam Workshop for no conceivable reason. I'm assuming that the takedown was instigated by rude comments on the Steam Workshop page. Just a little hunch I have, since this is a very well-established phenomenon in the world of Danny. This just goes to show how much of a sensitive guy he is and how easy it is for shit to get under his skin. But he's more than happy to be at the very least associated with Green Run Productions, who are currently lying to people and stealing their fucking money. So then we have Alien Invasion, which is another map that went up and went back down, except this time somebody asked him about it on Twitter, and Danny said, I took it down genuinely for no big reason, and then he went on to state a reason. Just didn't want it on the workshop anymore, especially with the comments being received at the time. Wasn't helping my mental health behind closed doors at all. Personal choice. Maybe might return it, but meh. We'll see. So unlike the other maps 5 days after this tweet, this one luckily got to go back up and it's still in the workshop today. So very cool. And again, this pattern of Danny just like being a bitch about fucking comments. Like, holy shit, dude. The glue sniffers on the Steam Workshop don't fucking matter, dude. Except I wonder if this time they were calling him out for like the Waterpark fiasco and that's why he got all in his feelings about it. I don't know, man. This shit is just ridiculous though, how it happens over and over again. Like, can you imagine getting triggered by a Steam Workshop comment? Jesus fuck. This guy like thinks he's the alpha in the room and he like retweets Andrew Tate and shit, but he's like the biggest fucking baby I've ever seen. Speaking of the guy's fucking Twitter, I thought it'd be pretty cool to show you what he's kind of been up to for the last 2.5 months, almost 3 months since Green Run Productions has been fucking AWOL. So remember, they went dark on April 13th. It's kind of interesting how just a few days after that, on April 17th, Danny posts this picture on Twitter where he's pulling up in the Audi and he's getting ready to fuck off to some place, getting ready to drive on the ferry, and he puts these little hand waving emojis and was always, see you later. So a couple weeks after that, on May 3rd, you can tell this guy's just really living his fucking best life over here while Green Run Productions absolutely rots and decays. That's right, guys. Oh, baby, he's hitching a plane to Spain. I'm sure the Spanish loved hosting him. Something else I love about this tweet that just really broadcasts the strong, like, lack of character that this individual possesses is that he felt the need to flex his his watch. So in the first picture, you can see his arm is in a normal and relaxed position. He may even be wearing the watch on his other wrist. I don't know. It's hard to say. But then in the second photo, he clearly is raising his arm and like getting the watch in frame so that everybody knows he's got that Patreon money on his wrist, baby. You can tell this guy's just really feeling himself these days, man. He's such a comfortable liar. So then about a week after that, we get this super duper cool high octane shot of Danny in his Audi again, like racing around the shires of England. And he's just got his head in the clouds in the caption. Something I thought was funny was that somebody actually replies to this tweet, and I don't know if it's somebody that's trying to fuck with him, or it's kind of hard to imagine this dude having fans. So maybe this is Danny on like his alt account trying to meet ride his main and like drive engagement and seem super cool. I don't know. And they say, flexing the custom maps money. And then Danny fucking replies and he's like, yes! He's such a fucking dumbass, man. So anyway, this is what he's been up to this whole time while Green Run Productions got fucking isekai'd and sent to the upside down and turned into a fucking money printer. His timeline of vacations coincides with Green Run going dark. We got Sirius, who tied him to Green Run with the fucking scripts and the fast file. We got Danny himself saying that he changed his name on Steam to Green Run Productions, which I still can't believe he said that. Who changes the name of their privately owned Steam account to the name of an organization if you're not at the very least highly involved in the ongoings of it? He says there's all these other people. We don't know fucking one of them. We don't know one of them. Danny is our only earthly tie to this organization. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched for me to believe that Green Run Productions is just Danny doing Danny things just like he did with Waterpark, except this time he hopes that people won't tie it back to him so that he can get more people to take the bait and play hooky with him all over again for another 2.5 fucking years. But don't take my word for it. That's just a theory, a game theory. Could you imagine how I could reach such a brazen and insane conclusion? But anyways, at the end of the day, it's unfortunately very likely that Danny or whoever this Scooby-Doo villain is behind Green Run Productions is probably not going to face any real consequences. The best that we can probably hope for is that Patreon will just take down their page, which I find very unlikely since, of course, Patreon is also making money through this. They take a cut of all of the people who pay for tiers. I think that the best thing the zombies community can do moving forward is just identify people like this, raise awareness about them, and once these people's predatory behavior is identified, pirate the shit out of their paid content so that they don't have anything left to scam people with anymore. I'm quite happy that these transit maps made it out onto the workshop. I'm not going to be playing them personally. I don't really care to play them. They're apparently not in a very finished state, of course, and I'm just not interested in it, but I don't think there's anything morally wrong with doing it. If you want to play it, go ahead and play it. Transit is not an IP of Danny or Green Run Productions. It doesn't belong to them. It was made by Treyarch. And again, we have a lot of prominent people in the community saying that he literally just ripped the map from Black Ops 2 and put it into Black Ops 3 and put a little bit of extra flair on certain areas, and that's about it. Do not support Green Run Productions. Do not support this fucking knob. If you feel so inclined to support custom creators, support real creators. There's a lot of good maps on the way and a lot of talented creators that really could use the support, and it's good to reward people who actually make this community relevant in the first place. Without a lot of these map makers, we wouldn't be anywhere here, and zombies would be dead. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you for now. I hope this was informative, and I appreciate you all stopping by and watching. Peace out.